sixth stop of a 6-city tour that we started 8 days ago. We've done 6 cities, 8 days. We started in Vancouver, we went to Calgary, we went to Winnipeg, then we went to Toronto. Last night we were in Quebec City, and from what I've heard, I'm not sure yet, you might have to convince me, but what I've heard is we saved the best for last. So, that's one reason why I'm happy to be here. So, yes, so I'm definitely happy to be here. And now that I'm back, I'm asking you, don't make me go back to the States. It's crazy down there, I don't want to go back. Between the Donald and the Hillary and the Kardashians, I can't go back there. So please, somebody adopt me. Yeah, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. No, I'm not kidding at all. No. So what I want to do before we really get into science, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time because we're going to get a fire hose of information. So for those of you who perhaps brought a pencil or a pen and a notebook, please take notes. Some of this you may have heard before, a lot of you haven't. But before we get started, what I wanted to talk about was the subject of quality. Now, our competitors, everybody actually that's in this business talks about how good they are. They're the best, right? Everybody's the best. And after a while, it all sounds like white noise, right? I mean, when we hear about the best, I think we become a little cynical about it all. And it just sounds like white noise, because everybody's saying the same thing. But when I started with USANA, the first thing that I actually got tasked with was to participate in the creation of the intelligence complex, the intelligence technology. The second thing was, since I'm part of the R&D group, since I'm part of the product development group, I was asked by a variety of associates to create a greens product, a powdered greens fruit mix, right? There's a lot of our competitors that have that product, and the associates would tell me, if you guys would make that for us, we could sell the heck out of it. People want that, and it certainly makes sense, right? So we work as a team in R&D. There's a group of us in product development, and we work as a team. So we talk about the development of these products. So I went to them and I said, I'm going to make us a greens product. And the answer to that was, no, you're not. And I said, what do you mean, no, I'm not? Oh, yes, I am. And I was told, we can't because of the level of quality that we have and the parameters that we have for such a product. And I said, well, what do you mean? And the problem is that when you take out the water, when you desiccate plant material and fruit material, and you concentrate it down into a powder, what you're also doing is you're concentrating all the stuff that the plant absorbs that's in the environment. So we live in a very toxic world. So all the things that are floating around in the air, pollution, toxins, from the rain come down into the ground, right? Right. And what happens? The plants are going to absorb everything that's in the soil. All the pesticides, all the pollutants are going to be absorbed into the plants. Heavy metals such as arsenic and cadmium and lead are going to be absorbed. So I don't care if you grow your fruit and vegetables organically and you use pure methods to do that, it doesn't matter because the plants are still outside. Unless you're going to grow the plants inside, which very few people do on an agricultural scale, you're outside, it's raining, and the rain is going to contain and bring with it all the stuff that's in the air. So when you take out the water of the fruits and vegetables and condense it down, you're condensing also the levels of heavy metals that are in the environment. And so what also comes along with that is mold and mildew and fungus. And so I was told that because of that, it would actually be out of our spec, out of USANA's very strict specs, so we can't do that. So in the company that I worked at before USANA, I actually participated in the development of a greens product for our company. So I said, baloney, I've done this before. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to make a greens product. So being the smart aleck that I am, what I did is I bought a variety of competitors' greens products. Now, the company that I used to work for made products only for the professional industry. So in other words, they were not retail, they were only meant for doctors and chiropractors and naturopaths and nutritionists. Somebody had to have a degree to dispense, a license to dispense these professional grade nutraceuticals. That's what I used to work for. So I held our products in very, very high regard. All right? So what I did is I went to a variety of our competitors in this professional world and bought their greens products, including ours, the one who I used to work for, the product that I actually made. And I got about 8 products, and I took them to our quality control lab. And I told the guys at quality control, test all these greens products for heavy metals, for pesticides, and for molds and mildew. And 2 weeks later, they gave me the results. And guess what? They all failed. All of them failed. Every single one. And again, these are products from professional grade companies. They all failed. They were high in heavy metals, they were high in pesticides, and they were high in mildew and mold. I was pretty disappointed. So when I say, and I sit up here and tell you folks about the quality of our products, we are the best. We are the best. We have made a decision to not make products if they don't meet our standards. So unless something dramatic happens, we're never going to get a greens product. It's not going to happen. But the good news is, rest assured that the integrity, the quality of the products, the standards that we hold at USANA are such at a high level that the things that you do get are the best. And you can always rest assured that we will never make anything that we can't stand behind. So, having said that, let's get into the science. So we're talking about the evolution of science with this technology. So the names at the bottom are the primary scientists that had a hand in the development of the technology. And that is part of our group. And what's with the guy in the second row? What's his problem? He needs to lighten up. Come on and smile a little bit. Jeez. So who went to international convention? Right? Okay. So you guys remember when they trotted out 60 scientists to the edge of the stage, all dressed in white lab coats? Do you remember that? So for those of you who didn't go, 60 scientists and technicians were on stage at the same time. And nobody in the industry has that level of science in the company. There's none of our competitors that have that. It was pretty amazing, wasn't it, when you actually saw physically how many people were in the R&D department? It's crazy. We are on the brink of having a new narrative, a new paradigm in human nutrition. And this is part of that new evolution. USANA is working with your cells. Now think about that. That's a very profound statement. It's actually working with your cells. So how did we come up with the name InCelligence? What does that mean? So we use the word inherent or innate, meaning that there's an inherent intelligence to the cells, an inherent intelligence to the human body. So this morning, when I'm shaving and I nick myself and I start to bleed a little bit, I don't have to tell my body what to do to start healing that cut, right? It does it automatically. We get a virus, we get a bacterial infection. We don't have to tell our body what to do. It does it automatically. It's smart. It's inherently intelligent. But now, through the evolution of science and our understanding of the relationship that we have with our food, and understanding the role that our food plays in human health, we can actually access that. And we can leverage that knowledge through InCelligence technology. So, inherent, smart, cellular, intelligence, InCelligence. It's a beautiful thing. So, this is the foundation. This is the three pillars upon which InCelligence technology rests. This is the takeaway. This is the elevator speech. This is the most important thing that you folks are going to learn today. It's nourish, protect, and renew. Nobody else in the industry is having this discussion. Nobody else can provide all three in one product. This is what makes us different. Now, we start with optimal nourishment. Now, in and of itself, by itself, that's nothing new, right? I mean, every vitamin from the ones you can get in the supermarket or the drugstore or Centrum or Flintstones vitamins, they're nourished. That's what they do. That's the whole point. It's a supplement. So there's nothing really new there by itself. But put together, that's a different discussion. So, enhanced antioxidant protection. That's been a big theme at USANA, right? We've been talking about that for 25 years. Okay, but what's new is that we're talking about endogenous antioxidant protection. So, the old paradigm is that you take antioxidants from the outside in. So, beta-carotene, vitamin E, selenium, which is both found in supplements and food. You take them from the outside. That's what exogenous means, outside in. Now, endogenous, on the other hand, means from the inside. So what we're doing is we're actually cultivating, we're supporting, we're nurturing, we're priming the body's ability to make its own antioxidant defenses. And what you're going to find is that our own internal manufactured antioxidant defenses is actually more efficient and effective and powerful than taking antioxidants from the outside. It's the endogenous antioxidant system that we want to access, that we want to leverage, that we want to support. And we do this through cell signaling. The old paradigm, antioxidants, beta-carotene, vitamin C, zinc, selenium from the outside. The new paradigm is creating it from the inside. Now, the second pillar is renewal, all right? Or actually, we talked about nourishment, we just talked about protect. This is the third pillar, is renewal. Cell signaling, this is the process. This is the communication network. You're going to see cell signaling talked about a lot, all right? That is the communication network. Thousands and thousands of pathways that we can access, again, through our food. We can influence that for the benefit of our bodies. So through cell signaling, we can optimize the process of renewal to recycle aging parts of the cell. This is the most new, is powerful part of that new paradigm. These are the two new products. The Cell Essentials are made up of the core minerals and the antioxidant product. So again, we're talking about nourishment. Your first line of defense, greater absorption properties, reduces oxidative stress, stabilize and eliminate free radical damage. And there is the core minerals. So, for those of you who are familiar with that product, what we're going to do is go through some of the changes that we've made to that product. So an essential foundation of optimal nourishment was essential and ultra trace minerals, we know that. So what is the difference? So one of the differences is that in order for minerals to be absorbed in the body, they have to be absorbed in an acidic environment. So there are those of you perhaps in the audience or that you know of some people that are on PPIs, protein pump inhibitors, right? And people are put on protein pump inhibitors for those that have acid reflux. Too much acid. At least that's the theory anyway. So people are put on protein pump inhibitors. And what that does is that reduces the acid in your stomach, and thereby it reduces the ability of your body to absorb minerals. So then what you do is you end up making expensive pee because it passes out of you and it doesn't get absorbed. So what we did is, you know what ascorbic acid is? Ascorbic acid is vitamin C. So we've attached acidic vitamin C to the minerals to create a short-term increase in stomach acidity to enhance the absorption of the minerals. It's really very clever. Very important. N-acetylcysteine. So the most powerful antioxidant known to man is called glutathione. And guess what? Glutathione is produced by your body. Yeah. The most important, the most powerful antioxidant that we know of is produced by your body. But what it needs is the raw materials to create that. N-acetylcysteine is the primary building block for glutathione. We've put N-acetylcysteine into the minerals so the body will help create and generate glutathione. You're going to see more about glutathione in just a little bit. All right, this is a big subject here. So we all know about calcium. We know all about the importance of calcium in the creation of and maintenance of bone health, right? But maybe some of you have heard in the news lately, maybe in the last year or two, there's been studies done on people that supplement with calcium, and what they found out is that those individuals who are taking large doses of calcium may actually increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. Does anybody recall reading anything like that? Yeah. There's some people that right. So what's the first thing you do when you hear that news? I'm gonna stop taking calcium. What have I been doing to myself? What has USANA been telling me? Right? I would second guess it. Well, this is what the scientists didn't tell you. This is what the scientists didn't tell you. There's a very, very intimate relationship between calcium and magnesium. They're actually brother and sister minerals, okay? And they need to be taken in a balanced manner. So magnesium is actually much more difficult to get in the human diet than calcium is. Calcium you can get in your diet. It's found in dairy foods, it's found in green leafy vegetables, so it's readily available. Magnesium, on the other hand, is not. And again, these minerals work in tandem together. In order to ensure optimal bone health, you have to have a higher level of magnesium than we thought was needed at one time. So what we did is we balanced out that magnesium into a 1-to-1 ratio. Previously, it was a 2-to-1 calcium to magnesium ratio that we had in the old formula. Now what we've done is we've increased and balanced that magnesium to ensure calcium metabolism and to ensure the integrity of the bones. But there's another part of the story that's missing too. And I'm going to jump ahead and tell you that part of the story. It's a very, very important part of the calcium story. And that story begins with the Vitae Antioxidant. This is where the new InCelligence complex is. It contains optimal amounts of essential vitamins and antioxidants, including unique InCelligence complex. Stimulates production of endogenous antioxidants. We just talked about that. Promotes natural mitophagy. Now, keep that word in mind, mitophagy. What is the difference? Vitamin A now with 25% preformed retinol and mixed carotenoids. So we've discovered that in order for the body to use vitamin A, it has to be converted from beta-carotene. So beta-carotene on its own is not an active form of vitamin A. It has to be converted in the body through an enzymatic process. But what we found is a lot of people don't make that conversion very easily. It's not an efficient, it's not an effective conversion. So what we did is we actually put 25% active vitamin A for those people who have difficulty. It's a genetic predisposition in that the body just doesn't convert it. It's a very low rate of conversion. So beta-carotene as an antioxidant on its own is a good thing, but it doesn't become really active as vitamin A until it's converted in the body. So again, we put in 25% vitamin A to help alleviate that problem. So choline was increased. So what's the big deal about choline? So choline participates in the production of acetylcholine, which is a brain neurotransmitter. Acetylcholine participates in the formation of memory and also a working memory as well too. So let me ask you folks a question. I just saw this in the news not too long ago. In Australia, they're predicting, or what are they predicting in Australia, what are they predicting to be the #1 killer, and at this moment, the #4 killer in North America. #4 killer in North America, and they're predicting to be the #1 killer in Australia. Alzheimer's disease. Is that wild? Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's runs in my family, so I'm particularly sensitive to that. Choline participates in the creation of acetylcholine, which is absolutely integral to brain health and memory formation. We've increased that amount. Vitamin D, we've increased vitamin D. Why? Because you Canadians live up north, and you don't get good sun, and you need increased levels of vitamin D, which is absolutely crucial, again, to bone formation and to the immune system. We did it for you guys, because we love you. You're welcome. So, vitamin E. Vitamin D is interesting. If you look on the back of most supplements, what you'll find is a vitamin E form called alpha tocopherol, right? We've all heard about alpha tocopherol. That's the most common vitamin E form that you'll find in supplements. But in nature, vitamin E is actually, the tocopherols are actually a family. There's a 4-member family of the tocopherols. There's alpha, there's delta, there's gamma, and there's beta tocopherol. That's how it's found. It's not found in nature, it's just alpha tocopherol. It's found as a family. And some of these fractions, some of these different tocopherols act differently in the body. They bring with them certain health benefits. Some do some things better than others. So we really wanted to reflect on more natural vitamin E form, and so we put all the tocopherols as a family together in this product. Okay, now we're going to go back to calcium for a moment, all right? So I'm going to finish up my story. When the scientists did the studies to determine or make an association between calcium and increased risk of cardiovascular disease, what they didn't take into consideration was the importance of vitamin K2.
Yeah.
So if you take calcium by itself, what happens is that it just floats around in your bloodstream, and eventually what it'll do is it'll start attaching to the venous and arterial system. And that will start the creation of atherosclerotic plaque, which is going to increase, of course, the risk of cardiovascular disease. But what the scientists didn't take into consideration was the role of vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 acts as a traffic cop. And what it does is it activates the protein that escorts calcium from the blood into the bone. You absolutely have to have vitamin K when it comes to the integrity and the formation of bones. Vitamin K is the driver. And that's what the scientists didn't tell us. You wouldn't have a problem supplementing with calcium if you did the right thing, physiologically, the necessary thing, the imperative, which is to take calcium with vitamin K2. So, the Japanese are very, very smart. And they get high doses of vitamin K2 in their diet. And the high doses come from this food, and maybe some of you have heard of it, called natto. So, for those of you who don't know what natto is, it's a bean that they ferment into this gooey, stringy, smelly, horrible food. So imagine you take a fish and you wrap it in newspaper and you dig a hole in the ground and you throw the fish in the ground, and then you get a pile of horse manure and throw that on top of the fish in the hole, and you let it set for about a year. And after a year, you get your shovel and you dig it out and you unwrap your fish, and that's kind of what you got with natto.
Okay.
So I was in Japan about 2 years ago, and I made a bet with myself that I'm going to eat some natto. Now, the Japanese diet is interesting because their diet's very uniform. So in other words, for breakfast, they don't have like a traditional American or North American breakfast with the French toast and the lovely Belgian waffles and the bacon and eggs. They have fish, they have pickled vegetables, they have rice, of course, and they have natto. So for breakfast, I go to the hotel dining area, and there it is. So I serve myself a bowl, and I'm going to eat a bowl of natto. I'm going to do it. So I eat it, the bowl, the whole thing. I didn't just kind of take a little, I ate the whole bowl. And you know something I have to tell you? It was horrible. It was horrible. But I choked down every bite. But the point is that natto is incredibly high in vitamin K2. And so the Japanese naturally have a much lower occurrence of cardiovascular disease. And therapeutically, in Japanese hospitals, they use vitamin K2 to actually reverse atherosclerosis. They use it as a therapeutic tool. That's in there now. That's in there now. You don't have to worry about calcium supplementation anymore. That is the driver. That's what's going to escort calcium to where it is supposed to be. Very, very important nutrient. Okay, so let's talk about RDA for a moment. So do you know how the RDAs were developed.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Vitamin C. We know that vitamin C prevents scurvy, right?
Yeah.
You've heard the stories of the British sailors when they're sailing the ocean blue, and a lot of them, because they didn't have fresh fruit and vegetables on board, would get scurvy. Let me tell you, scurvy is a horrible, horrible disease. And so to prevent that, the sailors would bring dried citrus fruit, and they would actually suck and chew on the peels of the lemons and the limes, and there was enough vitamin C in there to prevent scurvy. So the RDA, and this is an example, RDA then determined that in order to prevent a very terrible disease, the body required only 60 milligrams of vitamin C. That's not a lot. That's really not a lot of vitamin C, but that was enough to prevent scurvy. All right? So the RDAs were set and defined only to fend off a vitamin-associated disease. Pellagra, beriberi, rickets, right? Those are all nutrition deficiency diseases. The RDAs were just set to do that. Now, what about, we're talking about 60 milligrams of vitamin C to prevent scurvy. Now, what about the vitamin C that the body requires to manufacture, the adrenal glands require to manufacture epinephrine and norepinephrine and cortisol? What about the additional vitamin C that the body needs to manufacture collagen for skin health? What about the additional vitamin C that the immune system needs to create T cells and NK cells? What about that vitamin C? Right? We're just getting by. They set the standards just to keep us alive. That's what the RDAs are, just to keep us alive. Now, in spite of that low requirement, look how many people are deficient in a variety of nutrients. 97% of women are deficient in vitamin E. I mean, almost everybody in this room is, unless you're not supplementing with, if you're not supplementing with the essentials, the cell essentials, you're probably deficient in vitamin E. Calcium, magnesium, zinc. And these are very, very low levels that we're not even meeting in our diet. Now, look at the RDA level, and now look at the optimal level. It's pretty scary. Now, what do I mean by optimal? I'm talking about creating optimal, thriving health. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about performing at our best. Our bodies performing at our best. Giving our bodies the raw material they need to do not only what they need to do, what the body needs to do, but to thrive. It's so important. We're not thriving with the RDA levels. So RDAs are minimal amounts of essential nutrients established by government bodies to prevent deficiency. But getting only the RDAs, like setting your income at the government established poverty level. All right? That's it. Again, just to keep you alive. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not signing up for that. Right?
No. Absolutely not.
Not designed for optimal health. All right, so now we're going to go into a little bit more detail about protect. All right? So we talked about endogenous system, right? Cultivating, enhancing the ability of the body to create endogenous antioxidants. The most powerful antioxidant system and the most powerful antioxidant, glutathione. And these are the guys in the formula that do it. So we know that there are botanicals, there are extracts, there are phytochemicals, plant-based chemicals derived from plants that actually can help drive that process through cell signaling pathways by telling the body, by coaxing the body to increase the production of antioxidant defenses. And these are the guys that can do that. So, I had a teacher a long time ago tell me, he said, if I could pick any potential, he was an herbal practitioner, he was an Ayurvedic practitioner. Ayurvedic is the traditional Indian system of medicine. And he said, if I could only choose one botanical, and that's it, to use for the rest of my life, it would be curcumin. Curcumin is the extract from the spice turmeric. It's found in Indian food. But it is so powerful that MD Anderson Cancer Clinic in Dallas, Texas, as we speak, are currently looking into curcumin as a therapy. Now, the other thing is, though, is that curcumin does so much. One of the things that we know it does is help cultivate, again, endogenous antioxidant system. It's very, very powerful. And all of these botanicals in this formula have an effect on that, all right? Now, we recognize at USANA the importance of curcumin. We're actually in agreement with my teacher's sentiment. We place that much importance on curcumin, so much so that we scoured the industry to find the best source. Now, the problem with curcumin is it's very difficult to absorb. It's a very, very difficult absorbable molecule. You're probably only absorbing about 10% of what you ingest when you do ingest that material. So what we did is we found the Mariva curcumin, which is 26 times more bioavailable than the curcumin that everybody else is using. That's how much we believe in that particular botanical. So this is the intelligence complex that really has a role in that creation, in that manufacturing of internal antioxidant defenses. So what we're talking about basically is food as information. All right? These little phytomolecules are little code words, they're little passwords that tell the body basically what to do and how to do it. But they have many, many different effects on human health. They have immune benefits, they have cognitive benefits, they have cardiovascular benefits, antioxidant benefits, and it's all done through communication as information. So we have this kind of information. So spices are very, very powerful. Cinnamon, oregano, basil, curcumin or turmeric. These are all very, very powerful, and they all bring with them a different skill set. Some are better at doing things than something else. That's our job, is to figure out what properties these phytochemicals have, and then how to utilize them. And that's the magic of the intelligence complex. So you have this kind of information, and then you have that kind of information, right? It's all information, but your body's going to react to that information, I would guess, in two entirely different ways, right? Cartoon.
Un radical libre est une molécule instable qui veut soutirer un électron à d'autres molécules ou se départir des siens. Cet électron devient très réactif et destructeur pour d'importantes protéines et structures cellulaires, y compris l'ADN. Le dommage causé par les radicaux libres s'appelle aussi stress oxydatif. Les radicaux libres sont des dérivés normaux des processus moléculaires organiques et l'équilibre fragile de leur présence est bénéfique pour des réponses cellulaires normales et une fonction immunitaire saine. Un style de vie stressant, un régime alimentaire médiocre et la toxicité environnementale accroissent l'activité des radicaux libres. En plus de nuire à une foule de processus cellulaires importants, un stress oxydatif non maîtrisé est souvent un facteur d'un mauvais état de santé. Votre organisme maîtrise le stress oxydatif à l'aide des antioxydants, des molécules qui neutralisent les radicaux libres. Vous obtenez bon nombre d'antioxydants dans une bonne nutrition et davantage encore en prenant des suppléments. Et vos cellules sont conçues pour produire les leurs. Les Essentials brevetés d'USANA avec InCelligence peuvent optimiser cette faculté naturelle de l'organisme à produire ses propres antioxydants. Une des nombreuses fonctions du complexe InCelligence consiste à cibler la protéine de transcription appelée NRF2. Une fois activée, la NRF2 se rend dans les profondeurs du noyau des cellules. Inscrites dans l'ADN, les instructions sont envoyées aux cellules de créer les millions de biomolécules essentielles à la vie. La NRF2 se lie à l'ADN et amorce ainsi la transcription. L'ADN ainsi activé produit des chaînes d'ARN qui, à leur tour, rassemblent des enzymes antioxydantes très puissantes comme la glutathion peroxydase, la catalase et la superoxyde dismutase. Ces antioxydants se joignent ensuite à la lutte contre les radicaux libres. Chaque enzyme antioxydante peut neutraliser des milliers de radicaux libres. Avec InCelligence, vous pouvez optimiser l'un des moyens de défense les plus puissants de votre organisme. La production d'antioxydants dans votre organisme favorise une protection inégalée contre le stress oxydatif.
That's not science fiction. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Do you hear glutathione? Right? It's very, very cool. The old paradigm. One molecule of vitamin C, one molecule of vitamin E, one molecule of selenium will neutralize one free radical. All right? When that's done, vitamin C is done, it's going home, it's putting on its slippers, it's cracking a Molson and turning on the TV. It's done. Glutathione, SOD catalase, though, can neutralize, one molecule can neutralize hundreds, if not thousands of free radicals, as you saw in the video. It's a much more efficient and effective and powerful system. Bodies are so smart. So essentially, when we take in, and again, I'm not impugning vitamin C, I'm not impugning beta-carotene, I'm not impugning selenium. They have other functions as well, and they're not just antioxidants. That's one of the things that we've really talked about in relationship to those compounds, but they do a lot of other things too, so you've got to take them. They're absolutely necessary to human health beyond acting as an antioxidant. But by taking them as an antioxidant, what you're doing is you're giving your body a fish. Not the stinky fish that I dug a hole in, but just say metaphorically, a fish. But by taking the cell essentials, you're teaching your body to fish for itself. You're encouraging your body, I should say. You're encouraging your body to fish for itself. It's much more productive, right? That's what we want. It's a much more productive system. So NRF2 is the cell signaling pathway. What did you see in the video? We're talking about the genetic level. We're talking about the cellular level that we're influencing. It's astounding. Again, what you see here are the compounds that participate in that process. They influence that process. They encourage that process. They're coaxing, they're nurturing, they're priming that process to be more responsive. And that's what it's about, is to be more responsive when the need arises, so that it will respond quickly, efficiently, and effectively. Now, if you look at the bottom of the list, you see pterostilbene. It's a new addition to this formula. Pterostilbene is actually related to resveratrol. What we're finding is the potential is that it acts more powerfully than resveratrol. You've heard about the French paradox, right? The French paradox was associated with the fact that traditionally French eat high-fat foods but have low cardiovascular risk. They have low levels of heart attack and cardiovascular disease in spite of the high-fat diet. It is proposed that one of the things that helps with that is the resveratrol, a phytochemical that's found in wine grapes. Pterostilbene, which is related to resveratrol, may be, in fact, even more powerful than resveratrol. So we've added that in. These are the things that will also upregulate NRF2, stress, cytokines, free radicals, ultraviolet light. That's what starts the process going. But the problem is that as we age, that process isn't as efficient and effective as it needs to be. That's the problem. One of the things, the problem with aging is that things just don't work as optimally as they once did when we were younger. Cells can sense when they are stressed. Again, they're smart. They sense when they are stressed. But again, as we age, the body and the cells are just not as responsive. We want to encourage that process through the InCelligence technology. Enhanced antioxidant protection through InCelligence, your body promotes unparalleled antioxidant protection from oxidative stress by unlocking natural processes. Okay, now comes the third pillar of this tripod, renew. So innovated cellular renewal, cell signaling, again, cell signaling, this network, these pathways that we're accessing, optimizes the process of renewal to recycle aging parts of the body. So let's go back in time. When we were younger, we were maybe in about 7th or 8th grade biology class, and we were studying that. Do you remember what that does?
Yeah.
That's right. It's an energy producer. It is the energy producer in the body. That little guy there is responsible for creating ATP, which is the gasoline. It's the energy that our body uses to do everything that we do. That is the molecule ATP, and the mitochondria are responsible for that. Powerhouse of the cells. Right? Another cartoon? Oh, I did it again. I did it again. I'm sorry. I keep doing it.
Les mitochondries sont les centrales énergétiques de l'organisme. Elles produisent l'ATP, la molécule d'énergie universelle de la nature. L'ATP fournit de l'énergie à toutes les fonctions de l'organisme, des battements cardiaques à l'activation des neurones. Certains déchets créés par la production d'énergie sont des radicaux libres destructeurs. À mesure que les mitochondries vieillissent, elles perdent de leur efficacité, produisant moins d'énergie et plus de radicaux libres, ce qui cause encore plus de dommages. L'organisme remplace naturellement les mitochondries usées, mais le processus n'est pas toujours aussi régulier qu'il le faudrait. La molécule de signalisation appelée mTOR intervient dans la communication, déclenchant le renouvellement des mitochondries vieillissantes. Le complexe InCelligence cible l'enzyme mTOR pour en tempérer l'activité et ainsi libérer d'autres messagers biochimiques clés. Ces messagers se lient aux mitochondries vieillissantes, signalant ainsi la mitophagie dans la cellule, autrement dit l'assimilation des mitochondries dégradées. Les éléments de mitochondries vieillis sont recyclés pour en former de nouvelles. Avec InCelligence, vous pouvez optimiser l'un des processus clés du renouvellement de l'organisme. La mitophagie réduit le dommage causé par les radicaux libres, favorise une production efficace d'énergie et renouvelle les composantes cellulaires vieillissantes.
Waste, pollution, right? It's okay. It's a normal process in the body. The problem is that when the mitochondria get older, or when we get older, we're producing less energy and more waste, more free radicals. That's where the problem comes in. So what we want to do is encourage the turnover, the recycling, the efficient recycling of mitochondria. We want to keep them young. All right? And we know how to access that process. That's energy run amok. Okay, so the pathway that helps turn over mitochondria and keeps them young is called mTOR. That's the pathway, all right? And the process is called mitophagy. So there's mTOR is the pathway, mitophagy is the process. And again, these are some of the things that will influence that process. It will have an effect on mTOR, thus creating mitophagy, which is the turnover of mitochondria. All right? Pterostilbene again, resveratrol, curcumin again. Again, these things have a multitude of different properties. mTOR, innervated cellular renewal, activates the genes that turn on your cell's ability to preserve and regenerate themselves. Upregulates mitochondrial turnover to more efficiently produce energy and reduce oxidative stress. The biology of aging has changed over the years. We now know aging can be modulated genetically, environmentally, and pharmacologically. Environmentally and pharmacologically, that means with our food and the nutrients and especially the phytochemicals that are contained in plant foods. So innovative cellular renewal with InCelligence, you can optimize one of your body's key renewal processes. Mitophagy reduces free radical damage, promotes efficient energy production, and renews aging cellular components. So this next slide is really cool. We have 3 patents that we developed on the InCelligence technology that are now in the process of review. I don't know exactly when they're going to get accepted, but this is a patent pending technology. Nourish, protect, and renew. Nobody in the industry is having this discussion. So, optimal nourishment is one. USANA's product offers a broad spectrum of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to nourish your cells. 2, enhanced antioxidant protection. Cell signaling, again, helps your cells protect themselves with powerful endogenous antioxidants. And number 3, innovative cellular renewal, turning over mitochondria and cells to help the process of recycling, to make that body work more efficiently and effectively. We really are talking about a new paradigm in human nutrition, an evolution in human nutrition, and the InCelligence complex and the Cell Essentials is part of that new narrative. And of course, everything we do helps you love life and live it. Now, normally this would be the end of my program. However, what I want to talk about for just a minute are some of the products that you folks were presented with at convention. So we know about the Percosa, right? So the Percosa has InCelligence in it. Now the other product was the Episil. All right, InCelligence. But the formula hasn't changed. So you folks are probably asking yourself, what's going on? You're talking about InCelligence, but nothing's changed in the product. Well, guess what? When the products were originally formulated, we knew the products, the botanical in there had cell-signaling properties. However, we didn't have the full story. The full story, our full knowledge of those botanicals didn't quite exist at the time. We now know that our initial inquiries into this subject have now borne fruit. And so we have a much deeper understanding of how these work. So when we look back at the formulas, we found that we didn't have to change anything. It was already there. We already did. I was a part of it. This is before my time, so I'm not going to take any credit. But the scientists that developed those products then were vindicated in that they knew, even when the products were developed back then, they had cell signaling. We just didn't want to talk about it yet because we wanted to make sure all of our ducks were in a row, which is now why we're talking about it in the context of the new Cell Essentials. All right? So Percosa hasn't changed. Episil hasn't changed. However, huge cell signaling properties in both of those products. All right. Now the other thing is the health packs. So in the calcium magnesium, again, we balanced out the calcium and magnesium ratio. We've also added additional higher levels of vitamin D because we love the Canadians. We did it for you, right? And let's see what else is in pro-glucamine. So pro-glucamine, that's right. Pro-glucamine, new product is coming out in February, I think, for you folks, for your market. You should be excited. You should be really excited about that product. That is our new, specifically targeted immune boosting, immune support product. Now, it works really good in tandem with the Booster C, but this is a much more targeted, more powerful approach to immune function. Is the pro-glucamine. The ingredients in there are very powerful. So for me, my favorite botanicals when I was in practice were mushroom extracts. There are mushroom extracts in the formula, in addition to beta-glucans. Beta-glucans and mushroom extract act as immune modulators, and they work in tandem together to actually help improve the function and that responsiveness of the immune system. That's really exciting. Anybody that has an immune system should be on the product. All right? So I think that's
everybody.
February. I think I said February. Okay, I'm giving the thumbs up. Merci. Thank you for your attention.